There we go. Okay, that's abrupt. Sorry, working on that. Gonna have to go make some changes, and I just had to refresh the screen, so I just lost all your live chats. So, but all right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We've got So Megan has second first blood because, like I said, I just lost all the live chats when I had to hit the refresh button right there. Oh, so we're going to be talking Epstein list this morning, and I've got a few other news stories. I don't know how long I'm going to stay live this morning because, frankly, I've been pushing to stream a bunch of extra hours the last few days, and I've streamed a bunch of extra hours. So I really only need to make another 5.5 to meet the goal before tomorrow afternoon. Now, obviously, this morning we're going to do at least a half an hour, maybe a little more. We'll see how I'm feeling. I have been live off and on since about 3:00 this morning to make up the shortfall. We had a shortfall this month, as I explained in one of the live streams yesterday. Basically, it's February. It's a short month, and with Cameron and Mario both being kind of busy and not being able to do the show as much, I tend to do a shorter show when we don't have another guest on, largely because I think the show's more interesting when there's a back and forth conversation happening instead of just me reading the news and opining upon it. Although I have a pretty high opinion of myself and my ability to do that well. But anyway, so here we are. I see Scrimshaw Rose is with us again. Haven't seen you in the chat in a hot minute, Scrimshaw. Good to have you back. So good morning there. And Megan, again, had second first blood. B Controversial's with us again. And B, I appreciate you hanging out last night. Y'all, I spent, I don't know, almost 3 hours last night back and forth. Mario popped on a few times and we chit-chatted a little bit. But for the most part, I was just streaming. I was doing some flipping video game streamer junk just to fill time and kind of get those gains and make the hours that we need. Excuse me. So what we're trying to do is get into the about to be released Rumble Creator Program, which is profit share is not the right word, the right phrasing, I don't think, but basically it's kind of a profit share deal where you get paid by Rumble for however much growth, gains, view time, new viewers, getting people to sign up for Rumble Premium. And so you guys know, part of being in that program, we're going to have to stream at least 30 hours a month total. And at least 5 of those 30 hours must be Rumble exclusive, and not just only on Rumble, but only on Rumble Premium, which means that you can't just it's not just that we'll do a show that's not on YouTube, but we'll have to do shows that are only on Rumble and behind the Rumble Premium paywall. So in order to watch those, you'll have to get that $10 a month Rumble subscription, which I encourage. There's a lot of big creators, right? Tim Pool and Steven Crowder being probably the biggest that are getting in on that program. They're kind of the pilot program, so they're already operating in that way. So like you don't buy a subscription to Mug Club anymore. You go get a Rumble Premium subscription and you get everything that you used to get from Mug Club. Same thing with Timcast. You don't go and sign up for Timcast anymore. You go get you a subscription on Rumble Premium and you get all his behind the scenes stuff and the green room and the documentaries and all that stuff. So we're looking to get a little piece of that action over here at the Brushfire Mind as well. So that's enough housekeeping for this morning. Let's go ahead and hop into this first story. This was breaking news last night. In fact, I was listening to another show while I was playing video games while I was live streaming last night, and somebody else broke this live on the air. In fact, what? So okay, so last night, I was live streaming while listening to the Tim Pool stream when Jesse Waters and Pam Bondi broke. We're going to be releasing this stuff. We're going to be releasing the Epstein list. Now, let's take a look at it because I'm glad to hear we're getting something, but I've got some criticism here. So here's the article from Zero Hedge. Epstein files tomorrow. AG Pam Bondi announces Thursday release as 250 victim names redacted. Redacted? Okay, victim names redacted I'm good with, right? And there has been some conversation about, well, you know, some of these people in these files are victims, and the victims are still alive, and we don't want to out the victims, and oh, the poor victims. Y'all, I don't care who the victims are. I'm not interested in who the victims are, right? This ain't complicated. I want the client list. That's all I'm interested in. I'm interested in who purchased services from Epstein in the industry of child sex slavery. That's what I want to know. I want to know how many elected politicians, how many Hollywood actors, how many big businessmen, and all that. I want to know who Epstein's clients were. And I want to see arrests and prosecutions. And, you know, the lefties are trying to gaslight us with this idea that Donald Trump's going to be on the client list because he was on the plane once, right? And you know what? Look, I'm a big fan. I like the Donald. I think he's the best president we've ever had. But let me tell you this. I want to see the list. And if Donald Trump turns out to have been an Epstein client, is on the list, you can prove it. And that means that he needs to be impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors and spend the rest of his life in jail. Like, that's not what I want. But if that's the price of burning the rest of the pedophile ring to the ground, I'm in. I'll write that check. I'm good with it. Right? Now, Cash said they'd release the Epstein list on day one, so y'all are already falling behind. But let's take a look at what they say is going to happen. And again, you're right, the claim is that Pam Bondi is going to release it today. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced on Wednesday evening that she's going to release DOJ files on dead pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, I'm already getting skeptical and nervous here. DOJ files on dead pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Just say the list. Just say you're going to release the client list. Right? And okay, I understand that there's a little bit of trepidation about just releasing the list, just straight up saying, okay, here's the list, because let's be fair. The client list as of right now is a list of people who are suspected. Right? At best, you could say it's a list of people who are suspected of having engaged in bad behavior. It is not a list of people who have been tried and convicted of the specific crimes. Right? So innocent until proven guilty, right? Fair play. I can definitely see a world, because Epstein was a big-time playboy all over the world, going to big political galas and dinners, making massive contributions there's a very good chance, it's absolutely possible, that there are names on what we should properly call the suspect list who are on there because they were just tangentially related enough. They were an acquaintance, an associate. They did some business with him, but they never did that particular bad behavior business, right? So there's a chance that there are people on the actual client list, or the suspect list, as we should properly call it, who did nothing wrong. That's a possibility. And so it's also true that a total release of the so-called client list, properly called suspect list, could put some lives in danger. And so, we could consider Blackstone's formulation that says it is better that 10 guilty men go free than one innocent man suffer. Okay, I accept your premise. I accept your premise that the value of protecting the innocent outweighs the value of punishing the wicked. But Blackstone's formulation is not an absolute. He says it is better that 10 guilty men go free than one innocent man suffer. Okay. What about 100 guilty men? Or 1,000? Or 1,000,000? Is the safety of one innocent man, who, by the way, in this scenario, let me remind you, is at least an associate, is at least tangentially related to the activity, even if he did nothing wrong. Is it acceptable? Is the protection of that innocent man who is innocent of wrongdoing, but still somehow connected to the organization, because that's how you end up on that list? Is his safety, is his innocence more valuable than the safety of the probable innocent future victims of 1,000 guilty men? Right? That's the problem with Blackstone's formulation, is it is one-dimensional, flat-level thinking. Right? It's better that 10 guilty men go free than one innocent man suffer. It sounds very nice when you say it like that. But let me ask you this. What's the recidivism rate on those 10 guilty men? Right? I've got 11 dudes and some metaphysical guarantee that one of them is innocent and 10 of them are monsters. And I let them all go for fear that I accidentally cause harm to the innocent man. How many more men, women, and please underline this with a foot stomp, children, how many children can we tolerate suffering at the hands of these pedophiles for fear that we'll breach the safety and security of the one innocent man that happens to know them? Right? And that brings up another question. Let's talk about the Clintons for a second. You're familiar with the Clinton suicide list. Now, put aside the conspiracy theory that the Clintons have just been Arkansiding people all over the place. And just forget for a moment the idea that the Clintons are this incredibly corrupt couple at the head of an incredibly corrupt criminal enterprise that apparently makes it a habit of assassinating inconvenient political attachments. And let me ask you this. How many people personally have you known in your life to die under mysterious circumstances or commit suicide? right? How many? So, forget for a moment that you think maybe, I don't know, the Clintons are just executing political rivals all over the place. Let's just imagine that never happened. But there's a list of the several hundred people who died suddenly and mysteriously, and by the way, don't undercount this, conveniently for the Clintons, who are associates of the Clinton family. Correlation does not equal causation. It does not. But it sure as hell provides the circumstantial evidence sufficient to warrant a suspicion that should be interrogated. Right? So, back to Blackstone's formulation on the Epstein list. If you got your name on that list, it doesn't necessarily mean that you did the do. But if you're a known associate of several hundred pedophiles, then we may need to have some questions. The fact that the list has not been released, the only real defensible argument I can think of is it might be the case that the list gets released publicly and private citizens decide to take the law into their own hands. Right? Maybe we don't see the list of who the victims are, and I'm not advocating that we should, but there are victims out there, and guess what? Those victims, they have daddies and big brothers and uncles who are just waiting for a name. So yeah, there is a legitimate risk that if the list is just released outright, we start seeing people drop dead all over the place. I'll say this with absolute confidence. I strongly doubt you're going to find a name on that list where I would be, upset to see that person removed from public life. I do. Now, speaking as somebody who has conducted operations and hunted and killed evil men, I would honestly, emotionally, I would love to see a gallows with 1,000 nooses solve the problem at an emotional, just gut reaction level. Practically and tactically, I want to see perp walks. I want to see arrests. I want to see prosecutions and interrogations because child sex trafficking is a global multi-billion-dollar business. And I can promise you this. Anybody who was actually a client of Epstein's pedophile ring, I can just about guarantee you, and this isn't making an educated guess based on what you can read in the news. This is somebody who's worked in the IC and worked on the human trafficking problem. Actually. And I can promise you this. If they're a client of Epstein, they have purchased children from other evil people. So as much as I want to see Epstein's clients suffer in fire, I really want to know who else they're buying from. I want to know who their contacts are. I want to know who smuggles their children in across the border from the cartels. I want to know who their contact is to place an order from the cartel. I want to see the fake Chinese takeout menu that's all written in coded language so that they can place a clandestine order to have illegal property. Let's face it, we're talking about property. Human beings can in fact be property. Why is that? Well, because under Barack Obama, things changed. The pedophile business swung into such high demand again and blew up so much that they actually reopened the open air slave markets in much of Middle Africa. Right? We haven't seen that, in almost 200 years. And Obama comes in and in just 2 short terms as one of the worst presidents in U.S. history. Well, he reignited the slave trade in Africa. That is Obama. By the way, that is the legacy, right? The reignition of the slave trade in Africa. That is the legacy of America's first and only black president. That never ever forget that very key fact. The highest impact thing that America's only black president had on the world was to increase the slave trade. So, and okay, 24 minutes into the show, let's read the article. I will say this. Take just a moment and appreciate Pam. She's a good looking girl, right? Right. That's a 60-year-old woman. That still just amazes me. She's not exactly my type, but guys, I cannot reiterate what an absolute just pleasure, what a deep entertainment it was to watch her confirmation hearings and Klobuchar's questioning her, and you're looking at the image as the camera flips back and forth, and you have to actively work to remind yourself, wow, the blonde is like 6 years older than the lunchbox. Damn. So, you said last week that you had the Epstein files on your desk. When can we see them? Asked Fox News' Jesse Waters. Jesse, there are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims, well over, actually 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I know tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office. Why the hell are you talking about the victims? Forget about the victims. We're not interested in the victims. We want to know who the bad guys are. We're not looking to punish the victims. Just release the list. It's not complicated. Just release the list. And like I said, there's a high degree of probability that some angry brothers and angry daddies out there look at that list and decide they want to go hunt them some bad guys. And it may be that there are some names on the list that are not actual bad guys. You know what? I don't care. I don't care what happens to anybody who got their name on the list. Right? I'm not talking about just the flight logs. I'm talking about the list of people where there's evidence that they engaged in transactional, illegal, underage sex with minors, right? Just give me the list of maps. Let me see that. In fact, I'd love to if I could make the rest of this year just doing live coverage of names being stricken off the list, whether they go in the jail or under it, I'd be totally comfortable with that. What kind are we going to see? Who was on the flights? We're going to see any evidence from what he recorded, because in all of his homes wired with recording devices, Waters asked. What you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information. It's pretty sick what that man did, Bondi continued. And that's basically everything from the interview. But here it is. And this is a bad image of it. But here's the Jeffrey Epstein flight manifest records from 1997 through 2006. And apparently we're supposed to be getting a lot more of that. So today, like I said before, I've still got to make up, I think 5 hours. Let me see. Let me go check the stream. There it is, 5. Okay, so I still need to come up with 5 hours of streaming between now and the end of the day tomorrow. So I'll be keeping my eye out for the release of the actual list today. And as soon as we have something to report on, I'll go live again. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a pin in it right now, because like I said, I've been I streamed from like 8 to 11 last night, and I think 3 to 6 this morning. And it was just nonsense. In fact, for at least 45 minutes or an hour of the 3-hour stream earlier this morning, I turned the camera off and went and sat in my massage chair. Just walked away. Just let it go. So, Sergeant Major says fishing shows. You know what? I like the idea of doing fishing shows. We tried to do one before. I'm going to have to give some thought to how we're going to film those, because the overwrought and complex setup that I brought when we did the one fishing show, messing about in boats, it's too much. We can't do. I have to simplify it without sacrificing quality, and a big chunk of that is going to be sacrificing some camera angles. And it may be that it's just going to have to be we shoot the whole fishing trip on the 360 camera dead, and then try to grab some short clips on our smartphones while we're out fishing, and that may be the only way to do it. So, Waller says, dropped last night. DOD directs services to identify service members with gender dysphoria and identifying as transgender within 30 days, and then remove them from service. That's excellent. That is excellent. I might cover that later today. But for right now, guys, I'm going to go ahead and put a pin in it. I'm going to put a pin in it. I got to go. Actually, I got to take the trash to the dump. So, but y'all keep an eye out. I'll be up and down all day, because I got to get this done. Basically, I got to get this done today, because starting tomorrow morning, apparently, I'm going to be out shooting houses again. So I'm not going to have, apart from the regular Firearms Friday show tomorrow morning, I'm not going to have time to get in any more streaming time after Firearms Friday tomorrow morning. So I'm going to go ahead and break that 30 today, so that, God forbid the power goes out or whatever, for whatever reason, we can't go live tomorrow morning. I don't find myself trying to scrape up that last couple of hours after I've been out shooting houses in Conyers and Covington tomorrow. So thanks for tuning in today, guys. We love you, and we will see you off and on throughout the day. So, keep watching for the updates. Take care. There's the outro. Yep.